Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial. This one's going to be on Final IK. I'm going to go over quite a few things. I don't know how long this video is going to take, but I'm going to go over hand posing, two different methods of targeting your hands. So somebody mentioned the steering wheel. If you followed the last video, I'll leave a link for the IK video so you'll be where I'm at now. But you might notice if you grab the steering wheel, like, oh God, my hands are all messed up. What do? Well, we don't want it to look like that. We want it to look like this, right? Or the gun. This one hasn't been corrected. Oh God, what's going on? You don't want it to look like that. You want it to look more like this, right? And sometimes you just make custom stuff because you get bored and you just need the targeting to be correct. I'm going to cover the basics of that, and then I'm going to go over some tips and tricks with Final IK to show you guys why I know how to do all these things with Final IK, and you'll actually be surprised how easy it is. So stick with me if you want to get some pointers and learn how to do your hand poses. Alright, so with the steering wheel, that one was a bit tricky. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. Now, one would think that all you would really need to do is go to your rotor and then grab points where all these grab points are, and they have these hand poses. You would think, well, I could just assign all of them. That doesn't work. I haven't quite discerned why, but I just came up with an easier way to do it. But basically what's happening is the hand pose for the left and right hand for this little black hand here is exactly the same pose. It's just negative. So if you look at your rig, if you look at the custom left, you'll see how this scale is 1. If you come down to the right, let's see, where is it? I come down to the actual model on one of these. See how it's a -1? This is actually the exact same hand model. It's just reversed. And what that means is that you can use the same hand pose for both hands. You can use the same animation for both hands. Well, when you have Final IK, you don't have the luxury of that trick. So you've got to start thinking outside the box. And the more you work with it, the more you'll figure out what's in your box. And here, if you come down to our IK, and let's look at our hand. Let's look at the right hand. Let's look at the hand controller. And this is where you got to kind of use some detective work. You'll see right here it says override. What does this say? If specified, this hand pose will be set. Grabbles and idle poses will be ignored. Well, hallelujah. What does that mean? That means if I assign a hand pose here, all hand animation, all any other posing coming into this controller will be completely ignored. So all I got to do is put a hand pose here. Great, cool. So all I got to do is make a hand pose and then figure out how to put it there for the hand. 2 hand controllers, one for the left, one for the right. Cool, great. So I made a handy dandy little script. It's pretty straightforward. I made it really simple. I didn't do anything fancy with it. I just went straight forward with it. This can actually go away. There when I was testing something else, but essentially I just need the references for my right and left hand controller, which is the component we were just looking at. I need the hand pose, which we made open and closed poses. You can make more poses for the IK, but we need the right and left poses. The poses we're going to use for the steering wheel. We need the grabbable of the steering wheel, and we need our right and left grabber. So when this runs, it says assign right pose. It's going to see if my right grabber held grabbable. So is my right grabber holding the steering wheel? It's going to do a comparison because this is an event. And if it is, then my right hand controller, the hand pose override, is going to assign my right hand pose. So when I grab it, it's going to say, yep, you're holding the steering wheel. And then that little override is going to throw a hand pose in there, and then it's going to pose my hand. I did the same thing for the left. and then you just release it. I just did the opposite. So when I let go, I'm going to run this, and then I'm just going to make the override null, so it goes back to being able to animate. Same thing for the left. Pretty straightforward. So to correct your steering wheel, you take this script, and I'll leave it available in the description. Just go to your steering wheel. I unpack them because you can make new prefabs out of them. You don't really want to mess up your original prefab, so just unpack it on the steering wheel. Just take our grab point assign and then just get to assigning stuff. So right hand controller, that's on our IK. So come down to the right hand, throw it in there. Left hand controller, it's on our left hand. We need the pose, so I need my right hand closed, which is what I'm going to use. You can use whatever pose that you create. And then for the left hand, I need my left hand closed, which is what I want to use. I need the grabbable, which is right here, and then I need my right and left grabber. So that's up here on my XR rig. So my right grabber, bam, and my left grabber. Cool. Now if I come to my grabber, you can see where I had the events assigned for the other one. Let's just change it. So let's go to the steering wheel that I'm doing now instead of the corrected one. Actually, you could leave it as both. You could have as many events in here as you want, but for the sake of this, we'll just do this. So this is my left grabber, so we'll just go down to the grab pose assign, and we'll say, what did I call it? Assign left pose. And then on release, we're going to go to the same thing, and we're going to say reset left pose. Come down to our other grabber, create an event on grab. This is the other steering wheel, so I need my new one. And yeah, well, sure I got the right one. Yep. It's probably just going to stay the same. I probably don't need to do this, but assign right pose. And then my new steering wheel. Yep. And then, yeah, it's already got reset pose. So we'll just leave that there, but if you need to do it, just assign pose, reset right pose. There you go. I'll save. I don't quite know if I need to do this or not, but I did on my other one, so it doesn't really matter because you don't want the hand pose doing anything. So just make sure that this is set to none. I don't want any hand poses. And then for all these, I guess we'll just click them all and switch this to none. There you go, because we are now going to force a hand pose. So now let's test it out and see what happens. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up. There you have it. And you'll see now this one's probably messed up. It doesn't have any hand poses at all. So, okay. Now for the gun. So that fixed our steering wheel. Let's go get rid of that. Come to your rifle. Let's just unpack it. And this has 3 different grab points. So for the grip, we can just use these. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, I don't think I even changed anything there. But instead of having animator ID, just go to hand pose. Which coincidentally you could make an animation, but you would have to make a separate one for the right and left hands and then mask them all under one animator along with your VRIK to get it to work. I'm not going into that in this video. You can do it. I've actually built it. It just became more of a pain in the butt than what it was worth. If you want an animated finger, you can do that with code. Anyway, right closed, so I'm just going to assign them. Hand pose, and we'll do our left closed, and obviously you would make a new pose. And then coincidentally, if you're using Unity 2022, I don't know why this is. If you're having problems with like things bouncing around and stuff on these weapons, I don't know what versions it actually equates to, but just turn your interpolation off. You can actually set this to on grab, turning it off, and then turning it back on when you throw it if you really need it. But that should take care of the problem. If you do the same thing down on the slide, just switch it to none. Okay, so we got these hand poses assigned. Let's see what that looks like if it doesn't look too jacked. Okay. Okay. Now you can see we're using our IK open and closed hand poses. Still got to do this one. You see how it's all messed up. All right. So if you come down to the grip, you'll notice that it has a grab, but it doesn't have any grab points. So let's just create an empty. We'll call this left grip point, and then duplicate it, and we'll call this right grip point. Okay, cool. Go into our scene. Cool. So this is where you can actually use these hands. So let's add a grab point here, and then we'll make it left hand is valid. You can see that brings up our hand. Okay, cool. And here, add a grab point, and then right hand is valid. Cool, brings up our hand. It's kind of in a weird position. Because we lined our hands up to our IK, we can actually use these to line up about where our IK would be. You'd probably want to like fine tune it, make a new pose or whatever, but for the sake of this. And then if you come into your grabbable, just here where it says grab points, click auto populate. That'll automatically find the children that are grab points. So, so let's go to our right grab point, and let's just try to make that look like something. So it's, yeah, let's just do this at -90, and I don't know, maybe we'll 30, -30, sure, that works. Okay, and then over here we'll do, if we pull this in, we can do 90, and then should be 30. There you go. That way they mirror each other. Takes some lining up on your part to figure out, you know, in and out of the headset to figure out what feels right. We'll go with that for now. Once you're happy with it, you can actually assign your hand poses. So come in here, and I'm just going to use my left hand closed and then my right hand closed. Now if you bring these up now, if this hand's going to be all messed up, right? It'll actually throw up an error, and that's because this hand pose doesn't match this hand. If you need this back, but you need your reference back, like say you wanted to see what this looked like if it was closed, right? So just switch it back, come over to here, and just give it its hand pose, and then bring it back on, and it'll be back to normal, and then you can compare it. So on right hand, okay. So file, save. Let's see if that looks like. Okay. Here we go. Not sure if I'm still holding the right gun. Cool. There you go. You can see I'm using that arm stretch, so you don't get any separation when you push out. But anyway. Okay, so now you have the slide. So let's come to the slide. It's the same thing. It doesn't have any grab points. It's got a grabbable, but it doesn't have any grab points. So again, we'll just create an empty, and we'll call this slide left grip. Control duplicate, and we'll just call this slide right grip. Same thing. Add grab point, and this is my left, so that will make left hand is valid. You can see it brings up a hand. Okay, cool. Sorry for that interruption. I had a text. Anyway, where was I? Okay, yeah, left hand is valid. Left hand, right grip, add component, grab point, and we'll make it right hand is valid. There we go. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to take these two. I'm going to move them up to my slide here. And just kind of rub that in. That's probably good. Okay, so if we come up to our left, what do we want our left to look like? Imagine you turning your hand sideways, so I'd imagine you would probably want this at -90, like that, and then maybe like that, and then you can come in and move it around to kind of make it look like you're grabbing it. There we go. Okay, cool. And then for my right, what would that look like, right? So probably be 90, because you'd be grabbing it from the other side. So, and then just rotate it. And you can spend as much time as you want doing this. Just make it look like it's in its hand, right? About like that, I would say. Maybe. A little bit more. Okay, cool. And if you come to the slide, get rid of that. And if you come up to the slide, and again, grab points, auto-populate, get your grab points, save it up. Let's see if that looks jacked. Oh, forgot to assign my hand pose. I really need to get rid of that other gun. Okay, so come to your slide. It's the left, so we want our left hand closed. Our right, we want our right hand closed. Okay. Let me get rid of this other gun. Where are you? I'm not accidentally grabbing you. Okay, there we go. Like I said, you can spend more time, but you get the idea. Now it's starting to look correct. Okay, now this thing, I'm doing a total different method here. The way this works is on grab. If I'm grabbing with one, it's making this thing rotate with an offset depending on where my controller is. And I've got a break distance set pretty short. And that allows me to grab with both, and then it aligns itself depending on a center point between both hands, or if I'm only holding with my left, it does it with an offset right about here off of where my actual controller is. So it's following my controller around. If I've got it with both controllers, it's finding the center point between both my controllers and following. I'm using a raycast weapon script on this from B&G. I just threw my own script on there, a real short script. Not going to go over how to build this thing in this video. It's way too long. But if you would like to see how I built this simple turret, and, leave a like, just, comment, whatever, say, hey, I really want to know how you did that. But let me show you how I'm doing this. So, and my gun turret. See, I have this gun handle look. There's all kinds of stuff going on in here. Let's open it up. Here I'm doing IK retargeting. So on grab, when I grab this thing, if it's being held, I'm actually reassigning my IK solver of my arms. to a target point. So rather than having my hand just kind of stay with the target, I'm actually retargeting my IK. So if you look at your IK, your solver, come down here to the solvers. IK doesn't care what this target is. So I'm actually reassigning these. So how do I want to show you guys how that works? Okay, so let me just come down here to where my left hand is at, see if you can see it change. See how it's retargeting. That snap point is a target that's on the weapon itself. So now my IK is actually targeting that. And then I'm assigning a hand pose, and then when I let go, it just puts it back to my original target. It's called IK Retargeting. That comes in handy for custom stuff like that. Comes in very handy for multiplayer. When I continue the multiplayer series and I get into finishing up how you set up your IK rig and the local rig, which is actually a lot more set up than what the video actually has. The video I posted is only the first part. But that's the 3 ways to do it. If you want to use your IK solvers, basically you just say using rootmotion.finalIK. You get a reference to your IK. Keep a reference to what your targets are. So this is your right and left hand controller targets that you set the IK up with, so it knows what to set it back to. And then your new targets that you want it to go to. So let's see where is it doing that? Right gun, right here. So gun, right hand target. So I've got to transform for my right and left hand target. So when I grab with both, it's targeting on both. So I'm just vrik.solver.rightarm.target equals that target. And same for the left hand. And then when I let go, it's just making them go back to what they were. And poses are null. So I'm assigning my poses here as well. Yeah, and then all this stuff is just so that that gun can move, and that target is dependent upon let's see, really didn't want to go too far down. I'm not going to go any further down the rabbit hole on this one, but that's basically how you reassign IK. So try not to go too far through. So how do I know how to do all this stuff? Well, it's already in here. So if you go to your plugins and you go into root motion, you go into final IK, and you go into demos, and then you go over to VRIK, you have all these examples of stuff that you can do. Where I got the curve from is in this scene right here, basic. Go ahead and save that. So if I come in here, you come down to your pilot, probably if you followed the last video, you'd see that I did this. If you come to its IK, it's already got the stretch curve set up. If you hover over it, the creator of this will actually tell you just copy it from here and put it on yours for a good starting point. Well, it's a really good starting point because it's pretty much the way it needs to be. So you just right click, copy, and then paste it on your IK and the other one. So that gives you your stretching. For the grounder, there's another one in here, VRIK grounder. So if you come in here and you hit play on this guy, you'll see that he's got his grounder set up. This is what I've got my IK doing, how I showed in the last video. The only difference is when I was looking at it, I believe, let me look, let me find his IK. Yeah, he had this set up for procedural instead of animation, which I don't like procedural. It just doesn't look good. So I just set this in here to check and make sure it would work before I started using it. I set it to animated. And I came back up here and I switched this out. I turned this on and I switched this off, and I assigned the VRK animate a locomotion. And then I hit play to see if it works with animation, and it does. So there we go. And then you can actually grab, if I come over to the scene, I can grab him and you can see he's walking around. So from there, you can literally just look at the pilot and see what he's got. So on his route, he has this execution order. He has these elements. He's got his IK, and he's got this left leg, and he's got this right leg. And he added this grounder. And you can basically copy all this stuff and do the same thing. You can actually, you know, just have another project open so you can look at this on one side, have your project on the other, and then go in and just set it up exactly the same way, and then just assign your pelvis or your hips and your root character, and then set the left leg up the same way with your upper leg, your calf, your ankle, and then make all the settings exactly the same. Just like that, and then you have a grounder. There are things in here for a vehicle, I believe. For the vehicle, that'll show you how to retarget, how you should be targeting your IK if you're sitting in a vehicle. So if you're sitting in a vehicle, you would need to assign leg targets and hip targets. So if you look on your VRIK, you can see that not only do you have a head target and hand targets, well, you've also got pelvis target, and you've also got chest targets, and you've got leg targets. So you need your feet to be kind of bent up and on the floor, right? So what you would do is turn off the animator when you get into a car, and then you would have a left foot target and a right foot target in that car. So when you get into it, then you would just assign those targets here, and you could assign a hip target as well so that you could place their hip position within the seat. The key is assigning those targets so that you can align the character and turning off the animator, so then the legs will just go to wherever the targets need to be. You just need to get in there and play around with it. And that's all done simply with that line of code. VRIK.solver. Whatever it is, you know, right hand dot target equals, and then setting it back when you get back out. Hopefully that helps. Oh, I wanted to go over one more thing. I know this video is going kind of long now. The free asset that I was using, where the heck is it? Humanoid. Let me get back to my scene. IK scene. Okay, so if you want to make hand poses, right? So let's trying to figure out how I want to do this. If you take, well, I don't really want to go that far down that road. Let's go to my assets. Let's grab my avatar. I always use a secondary avatar for this. Okay, so just call him pose avatar. Okay. You can take a hand, right? So let's go into BNG framework, and let's go into prefabs. Where are they? Hands. I need that. I need, yeah, that's fine. We'll do that. Pretty sure I can do it with one of these. You don't need any of this stuff on here, so just get rid of everything. I think he's got one in here that's, oops, unpack it. Actually, yeah, I think I can just pull this out, and I can just delete that, and unpack this. Okay, so we don't need an animator component. We don't need this. Remove that. think that's everything that's on there. Change this back to 1, and then just zero out the rotation. Okay, and then kind of line them up like this. Do 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 do. Okay. Okay. That's pretty close. Okay. Then, if you come down to your, let's just go ahead and add a hand poser. Auto assign. You can get rid of other joints. He's got all that stuff in there. Just get rid of it. 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 Okay. We might have to end up taking those colliders off. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm just trying to show you an easier way to kind of get your feet wet with making hand poses. Okay, so now, if there's a hand pose that BNG has that you're wanting to duplicate, right? So, I don't know, let's say ball medium. Okay, so there it is. There's this pose. Okay, and then on ours, if we come down to spine, 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 right shoulder, right hand. We're going to add a hand poser as well, auto assign. And I'm also going to add that script, humanoid hand poser. Drop that in there. Okay, so now we can come down to our right. Oh, wait. Actually put that in the wrong spot. Remove component. I got to be on the root. So where are you? Pose avatar. Add. Actually, this. Whoa! What just happened? Control Z. Okay, took me a minute to figure out the oddity of that. Not even quite sure why it's doing what it's doing, but I do recommend making these hand poses in a different project if you're using this asset. I mean, after all, it's free. What can you expect? So what I ended up doing is I downloaded another avatar from Mixamo. Totally different avatar. Went through the extraction process, and we'll pull him in. And I'm going to turn the animator off. Let's make sure he's zeroed out. We've got my XR rig turned off. Now, I don't know why it's doing this, but for some reason, sometimes he'll fly off. But anyway, you have to be a 0. The reason I had to get another avatar is because the other one, I removed the bone transforms for the hand animation, so it was easier just to get another. It's probably not the best example. Probably find something with better hands. But once we have it, where is my glove? Let's line this guy up to this guy. Boop. And picking up where we left off. Always want to use a different avatar to make your hand poses anyway. This is just kind of a cheat. So I probably could have gotten a better avatar for this, but just try to somewhat line it up. I go by the thumbs most of the time. We back like that. Try to get this joint lined up and try to get the knuckles somewhat lined up. They're not going to be perfect just because the nature of it, but you see the idea here. We can kind of get it about right. Now if I come in here, if I come to my hand pose thing here. You can see this thing will also create animation clips, but we're not using it for that. Let's start with the index. So right index, where are you? So the stretched is your joints, the spread is how far apart it goes. So you can see it moves the finger back and forth. 0. So just kind of start tilting in. So you kind of are happy with the way it looks for what it is, and you can mess with the spread as well, like that, and then you may want to get a better hand, but you get the idea here. Middle 3. It's middle tip. Okay, and then ring. You can kind of start copying the hand poses and then come up to the thumb. Where are you? Thumb. Pull it in a little bit, down a little bit, in, out a little bit, and something like that maybe. Where's my spread at? Just kind of get it in there, like that. You can do this with objects too, obviously, but anyway. The idea of it is once you've got that, you can then come down to your right hand, come down to your spine. If I come down to the right hand, I can add hand poser, auto assign, and then that gets our joints. And now I could do this as save as avatar right hand cup. Save. Come back up here. These can just be copy and pasted to the left. So if I'm happy with that pose, I can just copy. And keep in mind, this thing's not perfect. It's a free asset, and it works pretty well for a free asset, to be honest with you. These settings are just identical for the left and right hands, which is kind of convenient, kind of a pain that you have to go back and copy paste each one. I was thinking about getting in there and modifying this to make it a little better, but like I said, I don't really use it much. For you guys that are just getting out, just now starting to make hand poses, this will come in handy. I do recommend making your poses in a different project if you're using any free asset, to be honest with you, because anytime you bring in a, where am I talking and I'm losing my space, my place here. Let's go up, 307, 146, 384, 239. Okay, so now if you come over here, you should have a comparable pose. There we go. And then if you come down to your left shoulder, to the hand, and then add the hand poser, auto assign, and then you can save that pose as avatar, left hand cup, whatever I name the other one. There you go. Now you have 2 cup poses. You can do that for whatever. You can do it for trigger poses. You can do it for whatever. If you set up a project, you could actually do this in runtime as well. So while he's holding a gun, you can use that to kind of rough it in. And you can always come back and modify these hand poses later without that. So you can go in and actually modify the rotations and then save it. But it gets a good ballpark. Anyway, this video has gone on long enough, about 40 minutes. I hope that is informative and helped you out with some stuff. Have a good one.